Hello everyone, and welcome to the first Stolen History Week in Review, where we're going to go through a few of the threads from the last week, have a bit of a talk about them, and my co-hosts with me today are Oracle and MG. Hello.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, Ludo. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're spanning a few or two different countries, and I think that this is working out all right so far. So we are already the number one show on YouTube. We've got 700 million people watching us right now. Fantastic. We'll try to pump those numbers up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Done.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, we'll get at least 7 by the end of it. So let's kick it off. The first thread that was actually one of mine. Self-promotion here. All right, so this first one. I'm a really big classical music fan, and I just listen to like minimum 6 hours of classical a day as I'm working, just running it in the background. And I was on Facebook and I saw someone mention that Beethoven was a fraud, and I just went, what on earth is this person talking about? How dare he slaughter one of my sacred cows? And you guys know how it is. Every few weeks you just get something slaughtered in your understanding of how the world works, and it just flips you, doesn't it? You just don't know if you should, what to do. You've got to either accept it or lie to yourself.
Yeah, I think being Stolen History members, automatically my first thing is to research and say that can't be true, and then of course you find out that it was true.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And of course it always makes the entire story altogether rumble, because if this guy is fake, then what about all the other guys surrounding him and who supposedly work with him and stuff like that? It's always really takes you down a rabbit hole.
So true. And then you start noticing patterns, and might get into one of those a little bit later. But here we've got some nice pictures of him. The way I put this together was I managed it all through a big spreadsheet. I copy and pasted all of his songs into a spreadsheet, did a whole bunch of math on it, created some charts, and it really turns out that this guy was a machine of machines when it comes to writing songs. In this one year when he was 23, 146 pieces. I'll say pieces because some people really got upset when I said songs. They had a little bit of a moment.
I understand.
Yeah, so pieces.
Please call it compositions, though, next time.
I'll get it right.
Doing it with the graphics, I mean, it makes it so obvious with the graphics. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's very sad. We've lived our life up to here believing that one person can pump out how many orchestral pieces? 270 pages, but 84 orchestral pieces, and he did that, and each one of them's around 270 pages. It's just what a joke. What an absolute joke. There's just no way.
And not only that, then just the writing itself, it sounds ridiculous, but then having to perfect how you play them. It's all the time spent at the piano.
So true, so true. I know that you play music, and so do I, and obviously we're not at this level. MG, do you play? I've never thought to ask.
A bit, but nothing interesting.
You'd strike me as a bagpiper.
As a bagpipe. Well, I've always had a forelock for organs, but I'm not.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'll go into that later.
Thank you. I'd subscribe to that channel. So here we have the end statistics. 60 pages per day of manuscripts he was having to churn out. And that was for a period of 32 years, which is ludicrous. No one up. Probably apart from who was our famous bard, the Shakespeare.
No.
He's another one. So 60 pages of whatever that is nearly impossible to interpret, I'd imagine.
Scribblings.
But maybe that is the way.
Secret code.
Yeah. All of these are open to interpretation too. So everyone reads them a little bit different. So I'll just quickly wrap this one up. And quite amazing, we've got some Illuminati numbering in here. So every day for 36 years, he wrote 60 pages of notation, 966 melodies. There's only 3, 6, and 9 in all of those, apart from the 0. That just blew me away, to be frank. And I wasn't playing with these numbers at all. These were the last numbers that came up. So very, very.
It's like their own secret code to laugh at us. You know, we're not supposed to know about the Illuminati numbers.
Possibly could be. Average page. So over his lifetime, he wrote 794,130 pages. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. What got me, and I was close in this to believing that he was either Scottish or Irish, because he just wrote so many songs, so many pieces, that were Irish and Scottish. But then I ended up thinking towards the end, no, he could be grabbing Romanian or Aztec songs for all that matters. He isn't a person, or maybe he was a person, but he wasn't the person who all of the songs have been combined in under his umbrella.
That's right. It really has to be a team, not necessarily a team, but previous composers, because one individual just couldn't do that much.
Exactly, yeah. So the original impetus of starting to look into this was just these 2 sentences from this guy, Marcia Ramalho. So before anyone asks me, I answer this. I think Beethoven never existed either. His work belongs to unknown artists from a destroyed civilization, whose remains are scattered on the streets and the deserts of the whole world. Even Beethoven's name is false, looking like a mere joining of 2 words, bee and oven. I don't know about that one, but the first sentence is fantastic. That is a terrific summary, and I think that you could just drop in Beethoven. You could drop pretty much the top 100 composers from history. You could just do that with every single one of them, in my opinion. So,
yeah.
Let's go to a couple and we'll just wrap this up. So this interests me. So this guy, is that his name? Yeah, Schiff. He's basically spent a long portion of his life looking into Bach's work, and he's probably not even there yet. That's how complicated some of these are. Yet we are being led to believe that one of these guys can pound out 1,200 pieces in his lifetime. Yet one of the world's best piano players, who's in orchestras and all of that kind of stuff, he's spending 10 years at it, and he's full decades, it's saying up here, just to copy Bach's work by hand and get good at it. It's insane. It's actually just insane. Yeah. So now
highly suspicious.
I don't know what to do with my collection. I'm just going to rename them all to Unknown.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've started listening to them with
the thing that
different music.
amazes me is how come, that nobody's picked up on this before. We just seem to accept. Well, of course, we don't, expect that we're being lied to as much as we found out that we are. But, just how come it was never picked before?
I don't know. Vanilla Skies. How can you go nearly all of your life without noticing that? And when you do, you see it everywhere.
I think it's one of the amazing things of being human. What I think about the historical part of it is when you get it all, when you write it all in one book and you learn it to children and you read the stories individually, then you can leave out so many details. So you just accept it. I'm gonna quote the guy from Assassin's Creed. And he said, in Assassin's Creed 2, he said, that's amazing. Nobody will question the written word. And when I was playing that game, it totally struck me because it was maybe 10 years ago when I was playing that game. And then I was like, he's so right. That's absolutely true. And I remember for myself when I was first started seeing not particularly Beethoven, but because I did an acting, I was pursuing an acting career back in the time. I read a lot about Shakespeare and other artists, and it was somewhere just too suspicious to be to just accept. And for Shakespeare, a lot of his great fans actually accept that Shakespeare was just a name for a lot of people to write pieces. I don't know how you call it in English.
Interesting.
But,
you think that people do accept it with Shakespeare?
I know for a fact a lot of people do accept it with Shakespeare.
Oh wow, that's so interesting. I did read a while ago that Sir Francis Bacon was one of the people who put together the compilation of all of the different stories, and then he created the character of Shakespeare, and then that's what I heard. I don't know if it was true.
Yeah, I remember reading about that too some years ago. I can't remember the details though.
I think it would make a lot of sense if that were the case. Not sure how to put this in a great funny way, so I'm just going to put it there bluntly. But a lot of famous people got grave robbed after they passed away because people wanted to possess parts of someone.
Oh yeah,
a relic.
Yeah. And Shakespeare's tomb, apparently, it has this very obnoxious warning: "Cursed be he who moves me bones," something like that. And there's a big plate of a very hard material on top of it. So very interesting.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's move on. So MG, take it away, buddy.
Yes. Thank you. So I was really intrigued by this thread called Carving Beyond Possibilities. And my apologies. The reason that I found it so fascinating was because I've always been a bit into alchemy. And I do not believe in coincidences. And when I was just going through this, through the thread and watching the movie, I started looking back at some of the older sculptures and sculptures made back in the day, and I was really lightning struck by the difference. So Luddite, if you can do me a favor, in the chat I just opened a page and it's called The Cloak of Conscience. And what I think is really amazing about this, and I think I don't want to give my personal opinion on it, but I want everybody to just look at the details and how it's formed. And remember, it was made in between 2006 and 2011 by Anna Crowley, I believe that's how you pronounce it. And with modern day tools. And I thought that was a really possible thing to grasp. If you look at modern sculptures making their art, then you can see them with their heavy power tools, and it takes them a long time, and it takes them a long time to find the correct blocks.
Yes.
And
it's dirty,
yeah,
time consuming, extremely prone to error.
Yeah, if you make a little
hard
mistake.
to get details, yeah.
Yeah. And then I started to compare the sizes a bit, which was also very interesting. And for some reason, it looked like how longer you went in the past, how bigger the sizes of the statues were. And most people know Bernini as one of the greatest sculptors, and I completely agree with him.
Yes.
And my personal favorite is the Rape of Proserpina, and I like it.
You like that? Oh, I don't know what it is, but it's got a very intense name.
It was built between 1619 and 1621.
Yep.
And the details are absolutely amazing. There's on the left side of Proserpina, you literally have a hand moving into the flesh.
Yep.
And also, how come so many of them are naked? Is that a thing, or why were, I doubt very much people were wandering about naked and in togas all the time. Why so much nudity? Not that I'm being prudish, but I'm just wondering why.
Like, this is absolutely next level. Like, you can...
It's indented, yeah.
Yeah. So everybody knows a couple of sculptures by Bernini, and between 1619 approximately and 1621, he created this sculpture, the Ratto di Proserpina, or the Rape of Proserpina, which is absolutely not one of my favorite sculptures at all, but this part of it I really like. So we can see the left thigh here, and it's very, very, very hard to imagine someone turning marble into something soft like that. With modern power tools, a thing like a toe or a mouth or eyes or even hair can be very, you could imagine that. You can see that. There's a lot of YouTube videos on that. We have a lot of modern sculptures as well. But if you take a look at this, and if you look at the descriptions from the people in the time who wrote about artists like this, which I want you to remember, because I'm going to come back to that, it really is almost as if they've turned the marble into wax.
Whoa. Wow. And you can even see this part where the fat is coming through the fingers, it looks like it. His grip and the fat is protruding.
Yep. So that's suspicious, but I guess I'm going to be willing to give our great old friend Bernini that one. We have some more highly suspicious sculptures by him. Apollo and Daphne is one of them. All of them are around 250 centimeters. That is around 90 inches. And what I want you to know is that they're all sculpted from one big piece of marble.
Yeah, I don't believe it either. That's
me either.
That's just an impossibility. Imagine a little bit of her hair breaking off here. Like, would he have to start again?
Exactly. That's the thing. I mean, the expense of the material and the time, alone, it's just, you just wouldn't do it. She might end up with half a head if he kept trying to correct.
Imagine just her nose breaking off, because it looks kind of thin there, or one of these fingers. Like, look at the little finger right in front of us here. If that broke off, what would he do?
Or even the big toe on the female,
It looks like it's nearly broken anyway.
Yeah.
She was clumsy, stubbed her toe many a time.
So my guess is, rather than sculpting, probably some form of geopolymer. Or a statue like that one in particular, there's no way it could be from a mold. I mean, there's just too much, ins and outs there. So I think if you scroll down a bit, I think it was Lourdes Bella mentioned about the South American leaf in Fawcett's journals, the American Explorer, and I'm very glad she did. I've mentioned that a couple of times before on SH, but the thing about it is, what happened in his story, and this may only relate to South American monuments, but there was Fawcett came across a leaf that he found via a bird that was a small bird that was making holes. Well, there was a whole, colony of them, and there was holes in very hard cliff. And he stopped and watched, and the bird fly up with a red leaf and rub it on the rock, and then chip away quite substantial chunks out of it.
Wow! And
it turned out when he got back to his native guide, and he told him what he saw, and the guide said, yes, that's such and such a plant. And I think it was the following day or maybe 2 days later, all his stirrups and the buckle on his girth and the shoes on the horse all just disintegrated and fell apart.
Wow.
And
what was
the native guide asked him, had he passed through some of these bushes that the red leaves came from? He said, now that you mention it, I do remember seeing that. But ever after on his travels, he was always looking out for the plant so he could find it again, but he never saw it other than there. So what I'm thinking is that they somehow could possibly mix the substance, the melting substance from that in with the geopolymer mix. Well, you could sculpt it and mold it by hand, perhaps.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, definitely some kind of technique that was not sculpturing with
that's right.
A hammer, a chisel, and sandpaper.
Yeah,
just impossible.
And at the best part, maybe large pieces of the work. I want to mention real short, and we can just add an image of this in between.
Yeah.
Another sculpture made by Bernini is called Apollo and Daphne, which of course goes about Apollo raping Daphne. And it was carved between 1622 and 1625. And you might wonder, well, why would it take Bernini 3 long years to sculpt, to carve it? Well, that was actually because he did David in between real quick.
Yes.
And
as you do.
The cool thing, as you do, obviously, just like Beethoven did. The amazing thing about Apollo and Daphne is that it showcases Daphne turning into a tree before getting raped by Apollo. And so the top of her fingertips are already turning into leaves. And it's so thinly carved that you can actually see the sunlight through the marble.
Unreal.
Really?
This one?
That's the one.
Wow.
Apollo and Daphne.
What a joke.
What an absolute joke.
It is.
All bear in mind.
It's just, there's no other word to describe it. We have to believe this? No way. I do not. I put my foot down. I will not believe these lies.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna make a separate thread on it as well, because I have a little bit too much to be sharing in this video right now.
Please do.
But there are a lot of examples. You had sculptors who were specialized in making veiled people, and the veiled Christ is a perfect example. And then you jump 1 century before, and you have these amazing sculptures by Michelangelo, who are next level to this, to some of Bernini's work. But then you also have other sculptures of Zeus from the Greek period, and they date from 200 before Christ, and their cloaks are very similar as the cloaks we see here. So either way, there's Me personally, I don't really believe the periods they sometimes place upon discovering some sculptures, like, oh, this is 2,000 years old, oh, this is 20,000 years old. I have a hard time believing that.
It's nearly
Yeah.
as if that they make this paste, and using that paste, they create robes, they create hats and fabric, but it's not fabric, and then they build the clothes as if a seamstress put the clothes together, and then they put it onto this thing, and then it just falls in the right place, and it folds like normal material. But then over time it hardens, and then this is what we've got. It nearly looks like that they might just be not reverse engineering, but just actually engineering it.
Right.
I agree.
It would be great if we could, someone could hit the place and chip off a piece of the cloak and a piece of the main sculpture, and analyze it and see if it's actually the same material for the actual solid statues and the cloth as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I agree with that, but yeah, I understand. I understand where you're going with.
Well, if you don't agree, look, there's the highway, mate. You can just leave.
Yeah, I can just walk off. Yeah, I know. Actually, what I wanted to end on was this one book, because, as you know, as a Dutchie, I always have to read some books in between.
You always have a fascinating book to throw at us.
Well, I have two this time. I sent you a picture of it to your. It's just one picture, so if you could open that.
Yep.
It's from a book from actually the same century as Bernini lived, and it's called Les Arts Sculptures, and it's originally a French book, but it also has Dutch and English translations in between. So I thought for this time, and only for this time, I would just give you the original English from that time, so I wouldn't have to be bothered to translate it as well, and you could just read it for yourself.
Okay. This one?
Yeah, that's the one. What struck me as a bit weird was that the Bonaventura van Overbeke, a lover of art, you have the blah 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 blah.
Too small.
Sorry. So halfway it says. He, by his ingenious and free manner of managing the hard ivory, could work upon it as if it was wax. That's just a real short sentence I wanted to leave you with. And then I did want to go to a Dutch book, which is called De Wonderen der Naturen, which means the wonders of nature, which has the 13th chapter, which goes all about waterways. And these are 14 pages, and I have 9 different waterways and little sources in Italy alone, where people could throw in wood and other kind of materials, and when they would take it out of the water, it would resemble stone.
Wow.
And I thought this was very interesting, because there are also some which I couldn't find anymore, but one was at Abano, 1 mile from Padua, Springbronn, and apparently it was undrinkable, so people would never drink from it. But even if you would put in your foot and you would take it out, there would be a small layer which would resemble stone.
Wow.
And there are, I think, maybe 30 or 35 examples in here from all these different waterways. And it hit me as amazing, because we obviously know you have different types of water, and more heavy water can be used to heal sick people, but it is very toxic to healthy people. And you have living water, you have Schauberger's water, and I don't want to go too much into that, but I just wanted to...
Wow, my mind is blown. That is some of the heaviest water known to mankind that turns something into stone. That is heavy.
Yeah, it's very alkaline. Very alkaline water. I think there's a lake in Tanzania, and I can't remember the name of the lake, but I think you've probably all seen pictures of it, where the birds and various animals that have gone, and they think they probably entered the water by being dazzled by the sun off the lake and sort of scorched and tired. I'm trying to think. It's in Tanzania, and there's also one in Russia, somewhere in Siberia, maybe. Mm-hmm. And so there's all these birds and various animals, and they're just exactly like they're carved from stone because of the alkalinity of the water. And
we've got to get experimenting on this. Really, doesn't sound like it could be that hard if they could do it 700 million years ago. And they did it so well, and everything's lasted to now. Citizenship, great thread. This was like a real popular one. 7 people are looking at it right now as we speak. So, all right, we'll move on. Go for it, Oracle.
Yes, well, I wanted to look at the decolonisation of history thread started by Will Scarlett, because I think that's, he was speaking mainly about the British Library, but it's actually something that's been happening, the world over. I mean, we had in America all the, demolition of the Civil War statues, and I think JWW did a thread on the American side of things. Yes. And it's something that's happening everywhere. And, I think Will was wondering why, why is this all happening? And to me, one of the things that I thought of straight away was, being a great reset. I mean, you literally have to wipe out all the ancestors, nationalities, and the stories that nations are, what you want to wipe out is cultures, previous nations.
You're fading out a bit there, Oracle.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I'm moving about. So, like the Kalergi plan,
yes.
In 1925, in Practical Idealism, he states himself the man of the future would be brown. So to me, it makes absolute sense that they want to brownish, all the historical records. And so that in the new reset, we will only, second, third generation down, we'll think that we were always brown, and that, there was no previous, history of nations and cultures, other than what one remark he makes is about why the Roman type statues.
Yeah. What a disgusting feat! That they could purge so many amazing cultures around the world. But what this reminded me of is how cognitively dissonant the forces are to think that can even be a reality, because you can only push people so much until they rebel. That's what the point of war is. You just have to look at 2 little children playing, and if one of them's a bit of a bully, like sooner or later the other one will push them back. And that's just the nature of humans. If you're also, now we've got the internet, you can't forget this stuff. So many people have hard drives full of everything. Not only would they have to do a manual reset on all these libraries like what Will Scarlett's talking about and you just mentioned, but there'd have to be a digital deletion too.
Unless in their new mRNA vaccine, maybe they can just automatically wipe all our memories. And who knows? Maybe we won't have an internet in the future. But just to get back to the point where he said that they don't seem to be doing anything with all the Roman Greco things.
Yeah.
Well, following my speculation of it's all designed for the new reset, that would make sense, because what they're trying to destroy is our history, or national, no matter what nation you are, you know, the history and so on. And if you want to, you know, if you're turning the whole world brown and you want to be the special people that are the only white ones, well, they could well be aiming at those, the remaining statues that they're leaving there will represent them.
Be,
so,
be God. They want to be God on Earth.
Exactly. And so, you know, we're just the plebs, and they're, you know, these beautiful statues will represent how great they are and how much better they are than us, you know. So we basically will be left with no history, but they will have a very nicely invented one, using all these ancient statues, the ones they didn't destroy.
Jeez, what a deep thought.
Yes, I usually do go sometimes a bit too deep. And, you know, cause, I mean, they're doing the same thing with the Vikings at the moment. You know, they're trying to obliterate that culture because, you know, there's not supposed to be Vikings.
But then they make a TV series on it that becomes a worldwide hit, and it goes for multiple years. So I don't see how it's very disjointed. They're not doing a good job of it. It
is. No, they're not. It's and it also goes to show you how massive these resets are. Is, you know, if they have planned down to this very details, all happening at the same time with the corona thing of, you know, just, you know, rearranging the libraries and, you know, all the records everywhere. I mean, that's some deep planning there.
Oh yeah. I would just like to throw into that whatever mechanism of control that has been implemented to encourage the members of the general population to take the banner and run and then start burning down libraries and getting rid of documentation and statues. That is incredible. It's either that their brainwashing is very good, or they're just throwing money at these people, just like with Antifa, where they just, you know, there's tons of videos where you can see before they riot and march that there is a handler just handing out money to them. They're all lining up and they're like, here, $100 for you, 100 for you. And then they're like, I got paid, now I'll go smash some windows.
Yeah. It's a bit like the, you know, ISIS destroying the massive Buddha statues too, you know, because they're, in the future there won't be a Buddhist religion, you know, so we have to demolish all these relics of the past.
Yeah. Yeah, the Buddhists know that. They know that they won't last. MG, did you have anything to talk about on this?
Well, I don't think it's really something that's been secluded to the time we're living in right now. For me, as one who's always been reading all these old books, there's always been a real thin line between fiction and reality, because history, as I know it, were just stories which were written down.
Yes.
And whichever book you open, you've always get a ton of titles which they are referring to, which no longer exist because of these famous book burnings, and they lost it till pretty late. And I know for in the Netherlands there's a real cool thingies about archives, that if you want to read something from an archive which is actually accurate, that you have to go to the private archives of the royal family, which is not open.
I've never heard that before. Really? That's scary.
Really? A private archive?
They have a private archive. Yeah.
Oh my God. I suppose a bit like the Vatican.
Yeah, it's a bit like the Vatican, and it always wondered me, and it doesn't matter in which country you are, where around the world, whether it's Indonesia or China or South America or Egypt for the matter, that there are people who tell a local story and they have absolutely no idea what they are talking about, and they just don't seem to mind. And they just, like you just said, I don't want to make the comparison between Antifa there, but they also just gets paid to tell some stories and just tell some a certain parts and make certain points. It always struck me as so unusual that so many people just lived in these towns and these amazing cities. I've had it myself in Haarlem, and you would just stand there at the big market in awe, looking at the big church, and nobody would even care, and nobody would look at it, and nobody would wonder anything.
Of course.
And they'd probably think you were very strange for standing there looking at it. They'd be going, "What's up with that guy?"
What's up with that guy? Me with my video camera and with my how do you magnifying glass?
Yeah,
and your green hat.
Yeah, I want to go to the pyramids one day, and I will be that guy just saying, "There's no way." And most of the people would probably be there going, "Oh yeah, dude, there was 100,000 slaves, hauling rocks." And you're like, "Come on, mate, just no. Tell me about the sewer system."
Yeah, no, that makes total sense to me. I mean, our royals in Europe are really known for example, if it would be a European thing and your grandfather would be buried in a big pyramid, then you would completely accept just some lame place known as the Valley of Kings, where you'd be all buried together like a bunch of chops on a cemetery. There's no way you would want a bigger pyramid because you'd have a small dick and a big ego. That's really uncalled for.
Well, one thing that's just occurred to me that you were talking a few minutes ago about Oracle was imagine if Romans never existed as the Romans that we've been told in the historical records. Imagine if they are just simply used for a reset purpose, where
like a template.
A template, yep, absolutely. And you've got your white elitists who are probably, small hat, banker class Jews who essentially say, let's play dominoes and cards and Risk with all of these different people. We'll just destroy it however we want. And then at the end, we will be the kings of the gods again. And we'll just do it in this cyclical.
It's exactly how I see it going.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really think that's the game plan. And I have this image of them all sitting around the table, and and with what's happening at the moment, that I can see China saying the China representative saying quite petulantly, we haven't had China for a while, it's our turn now, and I can see them sitting around tables with their little pens and notebooks, just laughing and designing all this and laughing at us, just laughing at knowing, and then just watching the results of how we just gullibly accept everything that they tell us. I think there was a cue phrase for that, and it went along the lines of, these people are stupid. And I think that's how they look.
Well, look, this piece of crap. JWW427, a lot of great comments and writings, but look at this, what is pasted here. This is modern art. It looks like junk compared to what we've just been looking at, to be frank.
Carnival. Yeah.
It looks like...
Yeah, it's hardly art.
It looks like someone programmed Microsoft Paint to vomit, and this is what the result is.
It's like looking at a Mardi Gras, just all this mess of colours and nothing, distinct.
Yeah, and then they put this horse on top. Like, what does that even mean? And they've got the aura going in here, making whatever that thing is, Jesus. Yeah. What did you want to say about this, Red? This is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it was basically just the comparison, to say that it's not just happening in Britain, it's a worldwide plan of destruction.
Yep, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. Well,
It always strikes me as a tad sad.
yeah, it is sad, but maybe this is the way that it has to go to instill creativity, strength of community back into the building minded folk.
Oh, wouldn't it be lovely if we went back to all the old style buildings and, that would be so beautiful, a world I could live in. Not all this red brick rubbish.
So I think the red brick ones are better than the prefab ones that they've got.
Well, true, yeah. But just to have some, organic curves and, just to get away from the square box thing that we've had to endure for so many years.
All right, I know where you're going. You're going into the octagon, aren't you?
No, I wasn't going to go that far. That's a whole different subject altogether.
We will just string everything together, build a new narrative.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if they can create a fake world, well, so can we. I'd much rather just rebuild the one we have back to have.
So, thank you very much. Too, it's been an excellent chat. I've really enjoyed it, and as both of you know, we can all talk for hours and have done. But we will try to save some of our mojo and wordsmithing for next week. How's that sound?
Sounds good
like a
to
good
me.
plan.
So
Lovely
good.
to catch up with you again.
Yep, terrific. Thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you all. Have a
See
great
you
day.
next
Thank you for
time.
listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.